Sri Lanka's Civil War, which lasted from 1983 to 2009, was one of the longest-running conflicts in South Asia. Fought primarily between government forces and the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, or LTTE, the war shaped generations, altered communities, and left deep scars on the island. Within this conflict, many stories emerged, some officially recorded, others passed through soldiers' memories and battlefield accounts. One such figure is a sniper often referred to as Nero. This documentary does not aim to glorify war or violence, but to examine how individuals become symbols during conflict and what those symbols represent. At the height of the Sri Lankan Civil War, a young man named Premasiri Madalana joined the Sri Lanka Army Volunteer Force in 1991 at the age of 22. After completing his basic military training at the Diathalawa Army Training Center, he was assigned to the 5th Battalion of the Gajaba Regiment, a frontline infantry unit that would see extensive combat during the war. During this period, Premasiri reportedly spoke about his hopes of spending more time with his wife during Army leave and of simple moments at home, being present with his 2 children during brief periods away from the battlefield. Years of frontline experience as an infantry soldier during the conflict played a significant role in his development, contributing to his success in advanced military training. Possessing the operational awareness, discipline, and fieldcraft required for modern combat, he met the demanding qualifications necessary for specialized battlefield roles. In the year 2000, following the successful completion of the Sri Lanka Army's 8th sniper course, Premasiri Madalana was inducted into the Army's sniper cadre. These combined qualifications and battlefield experience contributed to the successful completion of his sniper training. It was after this period that he became widely known by the call sign Nero. By the year 2000, Sri Lanka was nearly 17 years into a prolonged civil war, and the country's security situation remained highly unstable. The conflict between government forces and the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, or LTTE, had evolved into a complex mix of conventional battles and terrorist-style attacks. The LTTE had developed a sophisticated insurgent network, capable of operating both in frontline combat zones and deep within civilian areas. Suicide bombings, assassinations, and coordinated attacks on economic and political targets had become defining features of the conflict during this period. Major cities, including Colombo, faced constant security alerts. Public spaces such as bus terminals, railway stations, and government buildings were frequent targets, forcing the state to implement strict security measures, checkpoints, and emergency regulations. Civilians lived under the persistent threat of sudden violence, while daily life adapted to heightened surveillance and military presence. In the north and east, fighting was more direct and intense. Guerrilla warfare, ambushes, and mine attacks were common, placing heavy pressure on frontline troops. The LTTE also maintained naval and intelligence units, expanding the conflict beyond traditional land battles. By 2000, it was clear that terrorism and asymmetric warfare had become central elements of the conflict, shaping military strategy and national policy. This environment demanded greater emphasis on intelligence gathering, precision operations, and specialized units, reflecting how deeply the war had transformed Sri Lanka's internal security landscape. By 2006, as the conflict entered what became known as the Fourth Eelam War, sniper operations took on increased importance within the Sri Lanka Army. Snipers were deployed to counter long-range threats, disrupt enemy movement, and neutralize key combatants. According to military accounts, Sri Lankan Army snipers collectively engaged and neutralized more than 2,000 LTTE fighters during this phase of the war. Among them, several snipers became well known within military circles, including Nero, Lara, Pygmy, and Sonia, whose effectiveness distinguished them from others. These snipers were tasked with counter-sniper operations, often engaging LTTE marksmen regarded as highly skilled and strategically valuable to the LTTE leadership under Velupillai Prabhakaran. Reports attribute between 200 and 400 LTTE combatant casualties to the actions of Corporal Ranjith Premasiri, with 217 confirmed kills recorded during his service as a sniper. Nero was particularly noted for his long-range targeting capability and tactical patience. One reported incident describes the neutralization of a suicide bombing tractor operated by 2 Black Tiger personnel before it could reach Sri Lankan Army frontline positions. The engagement was carried out from a significant distance, preventing a major frontline breach. In March 2009, during the final phase of the war, Ranjith Premasiri was wounded in an LTTE mortar attack. After recovering from his injuries, he returned to active duty on 21 April 2009, despite the conflict nearing its conclusion. In the final weeks of the war, he was deployed to Putumathalan, an area experiencing intense fighting and large civilian movements. His assigned task was to identify and engage LTTE fighters disguising themselves among displaced Tamil civilians following the liberation of key defensive positions, including successive earthen bunds. On the morning of 28 April 2009, after the liberation of the second earthen bund, Corporal Premasiri prepared to engage an identified LTTE combatant. At approximately 6:30 a.m., an enemy sniper reportedly detected his position using binocular surveillance. Moments later, Ranjith Premasiri was fatally shot by an LTTE sniper. His death occurred 20 days before the official end of the Sri Lankan Civil War. During his military career, Corporal Ranjith Premasiri received several service and campaign medals, recognizing his long years of active duty, frontline deployment, and conduct under sustained combat conditions. The highest honor associated with his service is the Parama Veera Vibhushanaya, Sri Lanka's highest military decoration. This medal is awarded only for acts of exceptional gallantry and bravery in the face of the enemy, carried out voluntarily and under extreme risk to one's life. The Parama Veera Vibhushanaya is reserved for the most extraordinary acts of courage in battle and is rarely awarded. It represents the highest level of sacrifice and valor recognized by the Sri Lankan Armed Forces. Behind every soldier is a family shaped by absence and loss. In a recorded interview, Nero's mother speaks not of war or medals, but of a son remembered in quiet moments, before uniforms and conflict defined his life. In the years since the war ended, his story has continued in different forms. One of them is the video game Nero, created as a symbolic representation of a sniper's role during the conflict. While such portrayals simplify the realities of war, they reflect how modern memory transforms history into narrative. Beyond stories and screens, what remains is a life shaped by duty, discipline, and sacrifice, set within a war that changed a nation forever.